Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Mad Rome's Talking Skritt. I'm your host, Jim, and this week we've got things are getting a little shaky in Tyria. We've got earthquakes all over the place. A little bit on the more people side of things, we got a trading post debacle and a Path of Fire sale just in time for the final chapter of the Icebird Saga, and a bunch more. But before we get into that, first we're going to talk to our fellow co-hosts. With me today, I have an Arlie. Oh, wait. I forgot to do your intro. Shit.
It's fine.
My personal candidate for the cause of the earthquakes. Her roars shake the mountains. Say hello to Arlie.
Oh, I like that. That is worthwhile. Yay. Thank you.
I'm trying to, I'm not so good on the transitions, but I can do the intros when I remember to do them. Now, he streams over on Twitch, where he answers the age-old question. Can thieves evade tank earthquakes? Say hello to H.
No.
But, they're always up in the air jumping, so I kind of figured...
I mean, birds can fly, but they can't avoid an earthquake, you know?
They can as long as they don't land.
They have to land eventually.
Depends on how long the earthquake lasts.
Well, I mean, considering this one's caused by a giant world-eating dragon... I mean, that might be a problem.
Maybe it's being caused because the dredge are doing too much mining and instabilizing things.
Okay, so you're going the environmental route. Got it.
Yes.
Okay. So, I suppose that we should just jump right into that. Players have been experiencing earthquakes in central Tyria areas.
Yay!
Apparently, this is the same way that the Eye of the North was introduced back in Guild Wars 1. And you need camera shake enabled in order to feel it. And you do have, there is an audio cue as well. Or, yep, ZeKrioX, you're right. Possibly a huge party in Lion's Arch.
True.
But, I mean, maybe if it was old Lion's Arch, it would be a huge party. But, I'm not a fan of Disney World Lion's Arch. So I don't know
Hey, you can have huge parties in Disney World Lion's Arch. It's possible.
Yeah. But, Guild Wars 1 players are naturally assuming that this is the lead up to the Icebird Saga finale, and Primordus is coming, since apparently the Eye of the North dealt with Primordus' champion.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that was my assumption when I first saw the stuff about earthquakes showing up.
I mean, it makes sense. And, we got the teaser on the trailer about Primordus becoming more active, and,
Yeah. And he's probably grumpy because we basically hit the snooze on his alarm clock in the middle of that fight with Balthazar. So.
Yep. Now he's waking up in the middle of REM sleep and he's like, ah! That's what I think.
Now, I'm kind of sad because I'll probably never see this because I think I have camera shake disabled.
Well, that's why I was wondering, if you don't have camera shake enabled, you should still hear the sound and, is there other effects you might see?
From the video I saw, it's literally just screen shake. And a loud, almost roaring, it's a rumbling sound, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know a lot of people play with the in-game sound turned off and just...
Right. Yeah. I don't understand how people do that.
I used to do that with World of Warcraft. I would only play with music on. I wouldn't ever bother with the in-game sound.
Crazy people.
But I mean, I'm kind of digging this. I'm hoping that if it's just in the central Tyria areas, like the core Guild Wars 2 stuff,
mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to see a lot of changes here. Give us stuff that happens in the core. Well, no. Now that I think about it, they said that the Dragon Response missions are going to happen in core Tyria, right?
Correct.
So,
I don't know if they said core Tyria or just throughout Tyria.
I want to say...
Well, they're starting in Maguma, so...
That, and I want to say a lot of the videos showed places that were in core Tyria areas.
Right. I was just saying, I don't think they actually said core Tyria. Could be mistaken.
Yeah.
But...
I don't think it was explicitly called out, but I do remember,
right.
the video showing it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Definitely. Yeah, my question is if these things are going to bring like permanent changes to the zones they affect, like we saw with like the Nightmare Tower and all that, where the zone changed, or if it'll be just more localized changes to like an instance change or something, you know?
yeah. Oh, and ZeKrioX does bring up that the furnace in Thunderhead Peaks is even shown as a Dragon Response mission area. So it's all over the place. I really enjoy this kind of stuff. Like all this, like I still, whenever I think about like lead ups to this kind of stuff, I always think about the Undead Plague back for the launch of Wrath of the Lich King.
Which we're having again.
Really?
Yay. Yep.
That they brought the Undead Plague back?
Yes, because the Helm of Domination was broken, so they're running free.
Fun.
Yep.
As long as, people can still cleanse it and then get angry whispers about it.
Yeah. But yes, it reminds me a lot of like the whole current events thing that they had going on for a while, where new things would be added and we get little hints to what's going on, and over time it would be added to. That was really cool. I really like how they did that and like breadcrumbed out to find things.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is a simple, easy one that they can do just to like entice people, like, hey, remind people, hey, this is going to be happening and things like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a huge amount of dev time, so that's.
I kind of wish that you'd kind of know what zones they're going to be in.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose that's kind of not quite the point of having something like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's part of the whole discovery part of things.
Yeah. But the only other thing on top of the earthquakes is apparently Bangar is talking about it.
Yes.
And the conversation with Aurene and Bangar / Jormag about the earthquakes, which I'm not going to know any of this because I haven't played the story. I really hope that I'll be able to go through all these steps for these conversations with Bangar.
Well, like
all the dialogue in.
I was gonna say they're adding all the dialogue in, so you could go back and play those stories before you do the current stuff.
Yeah, but like I don't know what the trigger is for hearing each step of Bangar's conversation while he's imprisoned. I hope it's not just like a global time thing. I'm hoping that it's tied to like my account progression through the conversation.
Right. I would think it would be tied to that because like having a global time thing doesn't make sense, especially moving forward in
the time lock era.
The future, like new people coming in and buying these stories and then not getting to experience some of that,
It would have made sense back in like the season 1 era where you could miss things.
Right.
But I think that's honestly the fastest we've ever gotten through anything talking about story incoming. But then again, we really don't have much to talk about other than, hey, there's earthquakes. Yeah, it's probably Primordus.
Yeah.
So any final thoughts on the shaking?
I'm curious because on the trailer it seemed like we were considering maybe we just need to kill Primordus, like how that's gonna work. Like, because yeah, sure, Aurene helped stabilize after Krakator went away, but like that rebalanced that. If we kill another dragon, we'll be back to where we were when we were like, what are we going to do if we kill Krakator,
That, and I don't think Aurene necessarily fixed everything.
Well, why not? Damn her.
We're 3 dragons down. Adding 1 more back isn't really going to change all that much, so...
Well,
and you also
technically we're only 2 dragons down because she took the place of Krakator.
Ish. But yeah, so like I said, three dragons down, add 1 back, and it really doesn't change anything. And you figure if we kill Primordus, unless Aurene is able to just take 100% of his power when he dies, we're also making Jormag and Bubbles more powerful.
Right.
So
well, and then also there was something when we killed Krakator, it was very heavily hinted at that, like, having too much power actually can corrupt these dragons and like change how they work and the way they do things. So like there's potential if Aurene takes in too much magic, she's go full evil on us or something.
Now there's a thought, but I don't think they'll go that far with it.
No, but it's just something I'm concerned about if like we do end up killing Primordus and possibly Jormag too.
Right.
You know?
Huh? Well, Age, you have anything further to add?
Not really. I think it's just like them. I think it's good how they're bird coming it because I like when Arlen mentioned current events. I'm like I totally forgot about those. I mean, it's like something in between to hint at next story or lead you into next story without adding much dev time, especially when you're working on expansion, is pretty good. So yeah, I kind of hope they use this as kind of like driving story in between episodes. That's about it.
Yeah, I'm digging it. So we're gonna move on to not so much in-game story to story around Guild Wars 2. Post from Reddit, because quite frankly, when it comes to stuff in the game, it's a bit slow this week. No balance patch in the last 4 months. We're looking to be on track to having only 2 balance updates this year. A huge PvP update in February, and a smaller update in July. And also complaints in the thread about a stun-heavy meta. To quote the post, the amount of stuns in PvP is absolutely insane. I'm fine with knockbacks, dazes, pulls, fears, taunts, but Jesus Christ, you can't even walk onto a midpoint with 5 stacks of stability without getting a 5-second stun from something that you can't counterplay over. Complaints here about Tempest, Lightning Dagger 3, plus Lightning Overload are the worst defenders here, and PvP meta has become whoever can stack the most AoE dazes and stuns is the team that wins.
Really?
I have to admit, I did get my fair share of stuns on my warrior, but I also don't have as many stun breaks on that as I had on previous builds. Yeah, Gift, like elementalists have a pretty decent place as lightning shield bots, but honestly, one of the things with the PvP patches, like the February patch, gears were in motion for that before the pandemic, and I want to say we're probably lucky we got a PvP balance patch mid-pandemic.
Right. Also, balance patches.
Like start.
Oh, go ahead. H, what were you saying?
I thought he was talking about the February one. I guess the July one is what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. Go continue.
I was going to say also balance patches aren't the sort of thing that we should necessarily have on a regular schedule. Like, it's a different thing than providing new content. Like, of course, if there's a big issue, it needs to be addressed. But regular balance patches, you need to give things time for like players to try different things and then adapt to whatever changes were made before, so that you can more clearly see what is a problem now. If we got like a balance patch once every other month or 3 months or something, regardless of whether we needed it or not, I think it would create more problems than they would solve in the long run.
Yeah. Also, I had to mess with the gain on my microphone. Is my audio still good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I don't know. I don't... I mean, I'm not, like, deep into the meta of PvP, so I'm not... Like, there have been some moments where I've been, like, stunned for 5 to 8 seconds, but that's because I'm 1v3, and I kind of expect people to start layering their stuns on.
Right.
And I only have so many stun breaks, and it's against 3 other people, so it's just like, okay, yeah, sure, but...
Remind me, I don't remember if it's in Guild Wars 2 or not, but when you're doing PvP, is there any kind of diminishing returns on CC on other players?
Don't think there is. Yeah, because stuns in Guild Wars 2 are not as... egregious as they are in, like, say, World of Warcraft, because I know World of Warcraft has hard CC diminishing returns, but that's because they're not balanced, or at least I don't know if they are. They're not balanced differently from PvE to PvP. With Guild Wars 2, I mean, the stun duration between PvE and PvP can be wildly different. It's just, it stuns. So, that, and I think, like, some of the stuff in Guild Wars 2, it's weird if you have more than a second of hard CC.
Right.
So, and then if you do have more than a second of hard CC from a single given skill, it's either a really long cooldown or you are traded to increase your stun time in some way, shape, or form. Now, QED, who is my usual PvP touchstone when I'm streaming on Thursdays now, if you're listening, buddy, feel free to tell us if we're off base on that. But, like, I don't know. I'm just not really feeling this. It just feels like whoever wrote this feels like they're getting. Now, I looked at the Reddit thread, and I feel like whoever is making the complaint about it being a stun heavy meta might be somebody who is playing a class that gets focused.
Right.
So,
yeah, I don't know. Stun heavy? I usually kite that, so like I'm just expecting it, depending on which class, how X amount of stuns type of deal. So I kind of just mentally prepare myself for that. But otherwise, it's like I can't really say. I wonder if it's due, like, when we remove stability, like reduce stability, maybe that had something to do with it. But that felt like a while ago, so I'm not sure. That's interesting. I don't know. But regarding balance patches, I just think if it's like a very blatant thing, it should be fixed as soon as possible.
Right.
An MMO balance is always very different just than actual PvP games. We said this before. And also due to people probably working a lot of the time on the expansion, this is just expected to not have as many balance patches just because um, there'll probably be a balance patch as the expansion comes out too, if deemed necessary, or like maybe shortly afterwards. Um, but yeah, it's there was a when Hot was in development, or there was a bounce patch for, and then we didn't get a bounce patch for like 6 months, I believe it was. So
my problem was when Path of Fire was released and Scourges happened.
Yes.
One second, I'll be right back.
that's
What was I gonna say? I had a thought and then it just went away. Shit. I have no idea what I was gonna say. I literally had a thought and then it just went poof.
That's okay. It happens.
Oh, I know what it was. Haha. I was gonna say the other thing is that, first of all, like perfect balance where everything is balanced in an MMO, I don't think is really achievable unless like you make all of the classes like the same, because having a lot of variance between the different professions and whatnot, and then making it so every profession has a counter, that will depend on whether in that PvP game you have that counter available or not. Like that will make things unbalanced as well. So I'm not sure, like, I don't know. I'm not a game designer, but like it just seems like an impossible target to hit. It's good to aim for it, but I don't think perfect balance is a thing that would ever really exist.
In a game like Guild Wars 2, where you only have 9 different professions, but you have 3 different specs for those professions, it's very possible to have all 9 viable to some degree.
Yeah.
I feel that in a game like League of Legends, where you have over 160 characters at this point, probably that's harder to achieve.
Yes.
And that
Yeah.
makes sense that there are tier lists that are better, but I feel like in a game like where there are a very small pool to choose from, it should be viable to some extent.
I mean, so like that's the other thing is different people look at balance differently. Like I agree, balance is achieved if everything is in some way viable and useful. But that like some other people look at it as like no matter what you pull, you always have something that you can do in response to say a mesmer or something, which that not won't necessarily be the case even if every profession is viable in some way. Like you won't necessarily always you personally won't necessarily always be able to counter something every other profession does.
That's fair. Yes, that that's entirely fair. Um, I'm just saying, regardless of that, I do believe that's true, but I do believe that depending on the size pool of selection that you have,
Right.
it's the options should be more viable. And then since I feel like Guild Wars 2 has a smaller pool for PvP, I feel like every class should be viable. Every class should have a build that you can play.
At
Right.
least one, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, that's
if you get countered, then yeah, well that sucks. But
right.
at least you can play.
I think that's where it's a stumbling block for some people because some professions will have like one elite spec or vanilla version of them that is really good in PvP. And then, like, if you don't want to play that, then you might feel like it's completely unbalanced and not good, which, you know,
yeah, there's
it's a
just
perspective.
and that's the one thing that I always worry about with people complaining. It's like I can't beat X. Well, it's just like you are playing a 5v5 game mode.
Right.
So if you can't beat X, that's okay. But if you can't beat everybody else, like literally anyone else, then either it is a problem with your gameplay or a problem with what you're playing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a time where I had to learn Sword Dagger at some point because that was the meta. So like I had to learn it. So that's kind of like an example of like you have to like adapt in that scenario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think there was a quote from them a long time ago at this point, but I think it's still a valid way that they approach balances that they don't balance in terms of 1v1. Like that's not how they go about it because it would just be ridiculous
Yep.
like to try and do that. Um and I think that's kind of a stumbling block for some people sometimes because they want like I understand wanting to go in and always being able to like against everything feel like you know if you do things right you could win, which you know there are some combinations where you are depending on what you're playing and what they are you're kind of waiting for them to hopefully make a mistake to help you basically.
Right. But I don't know, like instead of making chess, make rock paper scissors. I mean, that's what a lot of RPGs with PvP game modes kind of operate on. Like thieves, like I know thieves hate seeing Mage Main Tether from Spellbreakers. The one reason I bring up thieves is thieves are always the one thing that kind of bugs me because like you said that thing with you're waiting for them to make a mistake to help you, Arlie. That's like
Yeah.
one of the things that has always bugged me about dealing with thief players is unless I am playing against a bad thief, there is always an out for a thief, which I kind of get as part of the point. But it feels like I have no way to run them out of resources so that they no longer have the out.
Right.
But that's my complaint about thief balance. But that's also possibly just the classes and specs that I'm playing that just don't do well into thief. So, like, I know Age has complained about a whole bunch of stuff, especially Ranger Longbow 2. And anything with reveal, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Reveal is less of a problem. I have a problem with stealth tracking. So that's when you initialize a skill like Longbow 2, and then like as I'm stealthing, but it'll track me through stealth. So like I have to move, otherwise I get hit.
Mm-hmm.
But you also see where I'm going in stealth because the arrows will go in one direction.
Because, like, the target of the skill travels with it.
Yeah. I don't like it, but I have to deal with it. So.
Yeah. But, and yeah, Gift, you're right. It's possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. Thank you, Jean-Luc Picard of the USS Enterprise.
Oh, God. I'm getting feedback of you in my headset now.
I don't know why.
Did you mute the stream?
Oh.
Did you unmute the stream?
Twitch just reloaded and decided I needed to hear the stream, and I was like, "What the shit just happened?"
Yeah, that's
okay. Sorry.
Good job, Twitch. Good job, Twitch. So any further commentary on the state of PvP in the game?
Nope.
Okay. So moving on from one type of combat to another, bit of a trading post debacle. A Guild Wars 2 player dominated and gatekept the Chak infusion market and bought every single cheaper Chak infusion and put them back up on the trading post for 10,000 gold. They were initially blacklisted from the in-game trading community for participating in suspected real money trading. They were not banned by ArenaNet, and they are currently no longer blacklisted after an investigation by the trading community. The YouTube video here as the explanation from
the evening of Saturday, November.
God damn it, Firefox from Sam Majeste explains it. So basically, the guy just artificially inflated the value of the chalk infusion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't really see much of this, but it's like. Trading community is kind of like niche in of itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they would understand it. Like the people paying attention to that community will like see this stuff and go like, it's very interesting news to them. But like majority of people really won't care.
Right.
Unfortunately, but it's just like a track infusion is very rare to get. Like I think Sam said, like. On average, like if he like average it out in maybe like 30 chalk infusions a year or something like that.
Yeah, it is a ridiculously low drop rate.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, I understand why the trading community reacted the way it does, because first of all, like being able to buy out all of those is a fair amount of gold in the first place. Like, my first thought was absolutely, oh, I wonder if he bought gold somehow, not legal ways. But like since he did it apparently legitimately, then that's just the way a market like that works. If you have enough money to buy out everything, you can control the flow. And like over time, he might not be able to maintain that because other people might get him and put him up, and he may not have the money indefinitely to keep a hold on it. But
maybe that's his gameplay for Guild Wars 2.
Right. Like I think every MMO, there's always people who like to do the market side of things.
Absolutely.
And
yeah,
I mean, as long as go ahead.
I had a friend in my World of Warcraft guild, and he's actually a finance major. Like that was his degree. That's what he went to school for, and he had fun playing the auction house in World of Warcraft, and he was good at it. So
right. Yeah, I mean, also like I also feel like my feelings like this are kind of beside the point, because in every MMO play I more or less ignore the player market. Like if I need something, I'll go there maybe, but for the most part, I don't use it. If I put something up, I always put it up for the lowest, like if somebody's selling it for some amount, I'll put it for a little less, you know, like I don't care about getting the most money for my thing. I just want to get money for my thing as fast as possible.
And get it out of your inventory.
Right.
Yeah.
That's literally all I care about. So like my opinions on how that affects the whole player market may not be quite as valid as like people who play it all the time. But for me, I was like, as long as he didn't do anything against the terms of service, there's no issue.
Yep. Yeah, it's. I will admit, in Sam's video, he brought up the 2008 housing market crash, and that brought some uncomfy flashbacks of my life. But it's not. It's not like anybody needs a chat confusion. If he was somehow able to corner the market on like salvage kits, like that would be a more apt thing, and then it would be a problem. But nobody needs a chat confusion.
I mean, technically, you don't even really need salvage kits.
It's intended as a part of the ecosystem of the game. So
I know, yeah.
Like it's intended for players to buy them, and also buying them off the vendors is a gold sink to pull gold out of the economy.
Right.
Copper and silver, but you know it all adds up eventually.
Yeah.
Or it gets you to buy copper fed or silver fed salvage-o-matic, which also takes money out of the economy. But like if he was somehow able to corner the market on something that was important that a larger percentage of the player base needed, then it would be a problem.
Like I could understand it being more of an issue if he cornered the market on something like force sigils or like runes of a certain kind or whatever. Like even then, really it's not a problem, but I would understand being really upset about it because that comes into messing with your potential power.
Yeah. Like that's your character agency, I suppose. But all in all, I think the uproar is kind of a non-issue, other than like the initial, is he buying gold to kind of be a dick about this on the trading post? But any further thoughts?
No.
I did really like the video where he went through everything because, like, even for people who don't pay attention to that stuff a lot, it it made sense. It was interesting.
Sam did a fantastic job with it. It was well done. Now, I just realized as we're going through the show notes here, we're just pulling farther and farther back from playing the game. Because the next topic is from the official forums, actually, and it asks the question, would you buy a mapless expansion? The polling, hang on, let me open it now because I'm sure it's changed since the show notes got set up. 31% yes, 68% no. OP mentions the possibility of making new stuff as a result, since they would be free from constantly designing new maps and complex metas, all the fluff NPC dialogue, etc., etc. We could have 2 elite specs per profession, maybe new weapon types, new smaller events and event chains sprinkled across neglected maps. You'd still have a main story, but it'd take place in already existing maps. I'd agree that exploration is fun, but there's also something to returning to familiar places. Now, I have to admit, Arlie, you're laughing about 2 new elite specs per class. Yeah, I'm with you there, because one, I'm still dubious on whether or not the game is ready for even a single set of new elite specs with End of Dragons. 2, the people who design maps are not the people who design elite specs.
They are. They're also the people who come up with all the marketing and all the cosmetic items and everything that goes on the gem store.
Right. Yeah, that's
Yeah, so reading that initially, I would say that I would buy a mapless expansion because, like, seriously, we have so many maps. Like, so many maps. And, like, while getting new maps is cool because there's new things, I don't think it's a leap to then expect there be new things added to the maps we already have, which I'm cool with. Whatever. Like
I'm sitting here. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I just don't feel the need for even more maps.
Everybody needs more naps.
Yes, more naps are needed. Yes.
H. I feel that answer.
Mapless expansion. I get it. I feel like it really depends because it would like have to sell me on the content that comes with the expansion. But I feel like that would just like a mapless expansion is just it's a very unique direction to take, and it's kind of risky at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's why, for the sake of the game, I would say no. But if I would go like halfway, like maybe one or two new big maps instead of just like
Well,
a bunch, just to make it, like, but like it has to work with the story as well, and it's kind of weird.
there's actually a perfect example of that already existing, and it is my second favorite expansion to World of Warcraft, and it's World of Warcraft Cataclysm.
There were new maps in that, though.
There were 5 new areas at max level.
Yes.
But they completely revamped every single zone in Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms. So the 1 to 60 experience completely updated, and I loved it. And I went back to starter areas on my level 80 Paladin just to play those new storylines.
It's kind of like what they did with the most recent, too. They completely overhauled how the entire game works, but we're still getting new maps, too. So it's not like in lieu of it.
But a mapless expansion... I mean, Red Wolf, you have a point. It would have to have some other kind of like big deal, like a new race would be cool. But wholesale updates to current maps would be great. Like it would, like pushing the story along, bringing new mechanics to old areas. Like, I mean, we really haven't seen much of a change to Queensdale. Like, we're still complaining about the Centaur tribes, and, like, there are people worried about the treaty between the Char and Divinity's Reach.
I mean, to be fair, there's, like, that can always fall apart at any time.
That's true, but, like, the dialogue would have to change a little bit, but that would be a simple change. But at the same time, it's like, we've had 2 maps added for Icebrood Saga. So...
I really love what they did with that, where like we get one and then they expanded on it and like made it like added more to it, instead of just necessarily being a new map for each part.
It makes me wonder about Icebrood Saga Champions, because if we're talking about, Dragon Response missions being all across Tyria, are we going to get a new map with troops? Maybe not with the first bit. There might be a new map just for like the story, like to house the final fight, since this is supposed to be the thing that transitions us into End of Dragons, and that was Silver Wastes into Heart of Thorns.
I mean,
yep.
And what was the transition into Path of Fire? That was...
maybe... Well, we can have instance content in older maps.
True, yeah.
They've done it before, but...
Yeah, QED, Dry Top and Silver Waste. I actually think Dry Top was 4 whole chapters. So that was like 2 months of living story.
Well, because
content.
like we did first stuff there, and then we went somewhere else, and then we went back there. So.
But I think Dry Top was like revealed in 4 chunks. Like there was a sandstorm blocking us from moving forward.
Yeah, 3 or 4 chunks, yeah.
So. But I think it can be done. I think one of the bigger problems, though, is it's less on what ArenaNet would be able to deliver, and it's more on what is expected of them by the community.
Right.
Which is one of my problems, is like we're moving into an expansion, and I have been... there wasn't... right, QED, because the last bit was actually fighting Lazarus. That was the capstone fight in Siren's Landing. But like people are expecting new elite specs because there's a new expansion. But I mean, how often have I lamented? People in chat have lamented. Is the game ready for a third set of elite specs? So
yeah, they're gonna do it though. I think so.
Probably, yeah. It's one of those things because I like across MMOs, a lot of expansions. People expect going to new places, increase on level cap, and new races available. Those are usually the three big things that people look for in MMO expansions across like the breadth of stuff. Guild Wars 2 is already doing it a little different because or new classes or professions. That's the other thing that often is added. They've done it a little bit different. Like we got Revenant with the first one, but aside from that, the elite specs kind of take the place of new professions, just expanding what we have. They don't really increase the level cap, but they do kind of because they add more masteries, which is more things you can do, but it's not really quite the same as a new level cap. And then there usually is more maps, more places to go. And I forgot what the fourth thing I had said already was. Dang it. Leveling increase, new classes, new maps.
Races, maps.
Races. That's it. We've never had new races with expansions, like playable races. And I know that is something that some of the community has complained about because they feel like that should be part of an expansion. So the question would be for a lot of people, I'm sure, if they're going to remove something else that we expect that we normally get with the Guild Wars 2 expansions, what are we getting instead? What will take the place? What will make up for that difference? And that would be a big question.
I mean, for me, I'm just getting more story. It's
kind
of what I'm here for. So
fishing. No fishing.
Hey, if they did fishing, they'd actually be able to. Honestly, they did cooking 500, but I honestly just want a Goram overhaul of the crafting system.
Yeah. I mean, it was cool, but now at this point, it's just like...
Especially since they kind of got rid of the discovery system.
Yeah.
And everything is just a recipe you can either loot or purchase for map currency.
Yeah. I mean, the discovery system was frustrating because, like, sometimes you'd match things and there was clearly something you were missing and you're like, what am I missing? But it was also really cool, too. I don't know.
Oh, and Gift also brought up Polymock. Now you got a point.
Yes.
Sure, I really thought they would add Polymock because there was an area for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's been in for ever because that's in
game.
Radisson.
Yeah.
So any further thoughts on having a mapless expansion?
I'd be fine with it. Really.
I'd have to agree. Yeah.
I think I'd be fine with it, but just I don't think it's a very risky thing to do. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Red Wolf does bring up a good point. It's like it's not like End of Dragons is going to be mapless because we're going to Cantha, and how could they not add new maps?
We're going to Cantha, but you'll never actually see it.
Oh my god. That'd be rough. So, again, keeping in theme with the show, is we're going to pull back just a little bit more and talk about whether or not you feel that are you the target group of ArenaNet? Are you within the target audience of Guild Wars 2?
Yeah, I saw that, and my literal response was like, I honestly have no idea what their target audience is. Like, and like I'd have to figure that out to be able to answer because I seriously have no idea.
MMO players?
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of my first when I saw this. Hang on, let me see. The current is 43% yes, 56% no. And this is from the official Guild Wars 2 forums.
Yeah.
There's a lot of discussion going on about ANET missing their target group, or what is their target group in general. And it seems to be also like, do you feel like you are the target? Yes, no. What do you think the actual target is? And I guess that's kind of where we jump to first. It's just like, who is the target group of Guild Wars 2? And my thought is MMO players.
But that's so
kind
big.
They kind of have to narrow it down.
Yeah, I mean, because MMO players cover such a wide spectrum of things. Even when you're just considering theme park MMOs versus sand park MMOs, like, but then when you go in from that, even there's still a wide breadth. You can't. I feel like if you make an MMO and you just target MMO players, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Narrative-driven MMO RPG players?
I think it's more of a casual type, honestly. Just because the way Guild Wars is designed as a whole, because like you can go for like 6 months, come back, and you're not like you're not going to be overshadowed by new armor tiers. You're not going to be overshadowed by weapon tiers. There's always going to be it's designed in a way that you can come in, do whatever you want, leave for whenever you want, and come back, and you can still continue where you left off. So
especially the way they're doing story now, where if you miss something you can go back and do it. You might have to buy it, but you can go back and do it. I think casual MMO players is a good way to put it, even when it comes to like PvP and stuff, like, or even raiding. Like, you can be hardcore about it, absolutely, but it's not required
necessary
to be hardcore to make progress.
Now, okay, so ZeKrioX 2012, a great buy-to-play game that attempts to simplify or remove some of the most common inconveniences that previous games had. 2020, trying too hard to please everyone. I'm going to challenge you on that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they're trying to please everyone. I think when we all started playing Guild Wars 2 in 2012, like, I remember Guild Wars 2 being hard. But that's because
Yes.
I had no idea how to play. So for those of us who have been playing the game for the lifespan of the game, anything that comes out now and doesn't challenge us is going to seem like it's being built for casual play.
Right.
So you got to take into account your experience with the game kind of colors your view of where you think their design is.
Yeah, it's more of like Guild Wars was a very different MMO than other classic MMO structures too. So there is a huge learning curve in addition to the regular learning curve of an MMO. So I agree that like everyone has to learn the the crafting system, the combinations of skills, how like weapons swap and weapons in general work with your skills, like specs, all that stuff, and then just like there's no actual questing. There's dynamic events. There's things like that you wouldn't see in a typical MMO, and like I think WoW set that standard of like what an MMO has. Or like maybe EverQuest, World of Warcraft, I guess in that case. And so like Guild Wars has always tried to do things a little differently. Like even Guild Wars 1, they tried to do things differently. So, but I still think like Guild Wars as a whole was more set for casual. I think in Guild Wars in general, you could be a hardcore player and it wouldn't affect anyone really. So
now, in Gift, the idea of competitive MMO players being outside of their target, I also disagree with that. But I think it's more because I think that paints the setting with too broad a brush, and this is also going on moving people out of the audience of streamers, group players, and grinders, because competitive MMO, like, if competitive MMO players were not catered to, QED and his guild would not have a website based on fractal metas.
Right.
Meta battle wouldn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
People wouldn't play the automated tournaments or even ranked in PvP. People wouldn't really care about WV. The competitiveness is there, but it's more a sandbox of ArenaNet has said, here, we have some structured competitive, and then you can also create your own. Like, I can't remember if they're still doing that rating thing where they come up with a random comp that you have to run and you submit your times. I can't remember what they called that.
No, that was community driven.
Yeah.
Like that's competitive and that's cool, but it's entirely community driven. Like, it's really hard to ask a game company a sense of them nurturing it.
Yeah, that's kind of the deal with competitive.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead, Arlie. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that it's kind of the deal. The difference between back when they were doing ESL and really focusing on that and pushing it and nurturing it, which it was a really good thing, especially when they had the finals and stuff at like PAX East and whatnot, because people would see that going on who didn't play and they'd be like, oh, what's this? That's cool. And it also showcased how PvP can function. Guild Wars 2 can function as a spectator sport too. Like, even if you don't know all the classes and what they do, it was entertaining to watch. And I think when they pulled back from that, we did lose some ground on that of what we had been gaining. I think we probably made up for it in other ways because they put their focus in other areas, but it's a very different thing than was when they were focusing on the ESL and pushing it and like really trying to make it like a top tier competitive kind of thing.
I agree with that.
I will say, to be fair, the ESL was partially failing due to the community's negative views on it.
Yeah.
Because they felt like they were the devs were more focused on PvP than other modes. So that's partially the community's fault. But I feel like when it comes to like what Gift said, nurturing the competitive environment, I feel like that was what was lacking. And it was like, for PvP, it's a lot better now with the automated tournaments and the 3v3 and like some stuff in the downtime. But like in between those times, like you just didn't know when they were going to do it, or like, you know, they were kept us in the dark about it until it was like around the corner, you know. So and World vs. World, we all know the story about that. So it's kind of like you need to show
the alliance system will fix it.
Yeah, no. But anyway, it's like you need to show that you actually care about those modes, even if it is community driven, just so that, like, hey, facilitate, like, if you help out tournaments with gem codes or whatever, or you put in like little features that help out those community driven stuff. It's a lot. It shows that you
add
care.
The spectator tool, like the spectator mode in PvP, specifically after they dropped the ESL.
I thought it was added before then.
I can't remember.
I think it may have been an in-house tool that they just released to the public.
Like they just made a spectator mode so that people could just use it in game.
Yeah.
Now that's one of the things I will say, like nurturing it, but it's one of those things where like people talk about the World of Warcraft, like the world first rating scene. And it's just like, how much of that world first rating scene is driven by World of Warcraft's status as a game as opposed to the actual community? Do people do the world first tournaments because there have always been world first tournaments? Or do they do them because they love doing the world first tournament rating?
Well, there's a bit of both, because the world first stuff is pretty much entirely community driven. Like, sure, they put in achievements and whatnot, but like for the most part, it's community driven. They're not officially holding any tournaments or saying, hey, Let's see who does this first. It's not coming from Blizzard themselves. But then you have things like the Mythic tournament where you're doing Mythic dungeons, and that's formally done by Blizzard, and the arena tournaments and all of that. So like there's a mix of things. That's all I was going to say.
I love how we got to this after like talking about whether or not we were the target group.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hooray, conversation drift. But like, I wonder in this day and age, like, can we like with as community driven as MMOs are, can we really super hold the company, the development company? Hang on a second. Rocca gave amazing advice in Basement Side Podcast yesterday. If ANET doesn't avoid a topic or doesn't give a straight answer, it probably means you won't like the answer. Well, that's any company. Because like that's literally PR 101 for any company. It's not even just gaming company.
Yeah. I was gonna say like I think
for ZeKrioX real quick.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Just for ZeKrioX real quick. I would not like that mostly. So he asked, "Would you want an expansion where PvE is sidelined for like a year and all we get is World War PvE updates?" That would kill the game. That would kill the game because like at least 70% of the player base is PvE players.
Like it or not, Guild Wars 2 lives or dies by its story.
Yeah.
By the progression of the plot. And that's just how it's going to be.
I would just like them to develop all 3 modes, essentially. Like, to some degree.
Any, like, Guild Wars 2, or not, World of Warcraft, if you suddenly released an expansion that was literally nothing but PvP and Battleground updates, I don't think people would like that either. It wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So...
I guess like WoW players play primarily for story and raiding, right? If it's PvE centric.
I mean,
PvE in World of Warcraft
like majority. I mean,
open world story, dungeons which have story, raiding which has story.
But like even in World of Warcraft, the raiding, like even if you're talking LFR, the percent of players who do LFR is much lower than the percent of players who play World of Warcraft in general. And then as you moved up the tiers of the rating, it gets, substantially lower each tier you move up in difficulty, essentially. So like that's one of the things about World of Warcraft is there's so many ways you can play the game, and none of it is necessarily wrong. And it's good because you have a lot of options depending on what you want to do, but it's also bad because sometimes various parts of the expansion or release or whatever don't get the attention they need because they have to do things in so many different areas and protect so many different parts of the game. Like just as an obvious example, in the last one, they destroyed Teldrassil, which is where one of the major cities of Darnassus is. But if you take a portal to Darnassus now, you go to a time-locked version of it. It's still old Darnassus, so it still exists in the game. Whereas like with ArenaNet, when they destroyed Lion Arch, it was destroyed. Like the only way you could go back was if you were in a story instance, and it was a limited view of it. Like the old Lion's Arch does not really exist in game anymore. But part of the reason that Blizzard maintained that was because Darnassus had been in since the beginning of the game, and it's a place that a lot of people have regular things they do there, and destroying it would completely disrupt that gameplay for them.
Yeah.
So there's trade-offs.
I feel like main hubs should not be a destroyed area type of deal. More like small changes, like a building changes or something like that.
Yeah,
I disagree completely.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have very mixed feelings.
I was hoping during the Lake Doric update that when those when those wild magic cannons were raining down on Divinity's Reach, I actually was like, no. When Jenna just like shield, and I'm just like, blow it up. blow it the fuck up.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? That could have worked because a lot of those buildings, like a lot of those houses and stuff, you can't really go into, or they're like very few things that you would need to do in there. So you can actually destroy a couple of those buildings and show the result of those bombardments on at least the right side of the map. You know, you can still keep the temple and all that stuff so that people can do their thing. But
yeah, I was gonna say, I actually, as much as I loved our NASAs, because I'm a day one Night Elf player, I've always loved them. Yeah, I was actually kind of crushed when I discovered that I could still go to old Darnassus, because the destruction of that was an emotional thing for me. It was upsetting, just like, you know, Lion's Arch being destroyed was upsetting, and I appreciated that it was reflected in game, and having that there still felt like some of that was taken away from me, like some of the emotional burden I felt of the whole thing being destroyed was just like, oh, it doesn't really matter. Which, I mean, as much as I don't want things destroyed, I prefer the way ArenaNet did it, where it was reflected in game, and we went an extended period of time before we got a new Lion's Arch. As much as I miss old Lion's Arch, but you know.
QED, to go to a couple of your points, QED. I don't think the story is horrible. I actually rather like the Guild Wars 2 story, but that's a matter of opinion. Like, even sitting back and narratively analyzing the story, like, I can see the rising points of tension to the conflict to the final resolution, and then the lead into the next major plot. Like, it's all narratively solid. There are loose plot threads that go off that they can pick up later, or not at all, and you wonder what the hell happened. Like, Malik may rest wherever he ended up. If you don't like the story, you don't like the story. I don't think it's horrible. I don't think it's the greatest thing I've ever read or experienced, but I like it. So that's more like on whoever is experiencing it. It's kind of hard to say that. As for your point about the combat system, again, I'm going to utilize your own baby, that website, to say that yes, the combat system is utilized in a looking at the entirety of Guild Wars 2 as an example. Now, in open world and story instance, where you're talking about just press 1, I will admit that I don't think you can get through, say, the fight with crap, what was her name? The head of the Vigil. I blanked on her name.
Oh, Almora?
With Almora. I don't think you can get through the Almora fight, which is a story instance for Visions of the Past, by just pressing 1. Like, you still have to do
depending
stuff.
on what profession you are, might be easier.
Well, you're in it as Ryland, aren't you?
Oh, right.
Oh wait, no, but you're just shape-shifted into a char. You still have your own abilities. Never mind.
No, you don't. He had his flame sword that gave you special abilities.
I thought he was just with you. Like I
I don't
thought
think
he
so.
and Bangar were just there with you. No,
I'm pretty sure that it changed your abilities.
I'd have to go back and replay it, but I can't remember. But like I can't imagine doing the Lazarus fight just pressing 1.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a few things. So like with regarding open world, like let's say like I won't put a number. I'll just say a majority of people just want to like I said, it was like this is a casual MMO for the most part. So a lot of people just want to come in and do their thing, have fun, type of
whatever
deal.
build. They don't care.
And you also have to keep in mind that like even though like we are a demographic that can like think beyond just pressing 1, there are like kids who play the game too, like and, things like that. They keep that type of thing in mind. And maybe some kids do want that experience of more than just pressing 1. Maybe like some kids just want to like press 1, just like have fun with their class. I feel like there's a lot of factors in terms of that, and that's why I feel like dungeons, fractals, raids are a good way to explore more options to diversify build, diversify play, your build rotations, things like that. I think my
you froze for a second there.
Yeah.
Yeah, my net lagged out. I saw. But I think it's interesting because the story actually made me think of the question I've been thinking of for a while. So it's like MMOs, since I want to say like 2005, I guess, have been like very different. I mean, the last MMO that we've seen has been probably 2015 that came out.
I
That
think
like
the
had
next big one
traction.
coming up is Ashes of Creation.
Yeah, we have Ashes of Creation, we have New World, and I think
Bless.
We don't count Bless, okay?
But it's coming out again. Unchanged 2 or Unleashed 2, whatever.
I'm not, like, Korean MMOs come out like every year, I feel like.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at Mofongo. Yes, that's assuming Star Citizen is ever going to actually release.
Star Citizen, I feel like, is just published but not officially released. Like, that's the state that it's in. I don't know what they're doing anymore.
They don't either.
They can play parts of that game. Anyway, so my question is for you guys in chat. It's like MMOs have shifted so vastly, and gaming has shifted so vastly in terms of the way stories told and the way that competitive games are made. I'm starting to feel like MMOs are kind of like watered down versions of those types of games put together. And I don't I feel like it's not possible to catch up. So it's like, is it possible for any MMO, like now or in the future, to have any one of those aspects in terms of storytelling or good competitive mode like PvP? Because I feel like the only game right now that can really excel in that is Final Fantasy 14, just because like there is super high praise for its storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
It's because the storytelling is designed as a single player game. Like it is, it is 100% a single player game.
Well, not 100% because you have to do dungeons and other things to progress certain parts of the story. But mostly, yes, it's designed as a single player.
Yeah, and like I haven't heard anything about its PvP, so I can't say. So, but it's just games like, you know, Witcher 3 is really good for story. Last of Us, like the first game, I haven't played the second one yet, but the first game is really good for storytelling. You have games like with action combat that have, I guess Smite would be the closest thing for action combat MOBA or something like that, you know? But like,
I keep meaning to try Smite and I just forget it exists.
It's alright. When I played anyway. But I'm just, I don't know. It's like MMOs, I feel like, have just like taken a back seat mostly because all these other games that have like this core focus are what people want. So like if you want storytelling, you would play this game. If you want to play a competitive game, you play this game. Right. Whereas an MMO, like you have the pick of the litter. Like you have story, you have competitive as well, like as for examples. But I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this point. So.
Okay, I was say I feel like MMOs do the best when they offer lots of things, but they have a singular focus, the main thing that they work on. Because when you try to do all of the things and like focus on all of the things fall by the wayside, which, you know, has been a problem of WoW, is still sometimes a problem that WoW struggled. One of the reasons why Final Fantasy 14, the redo of it and the restructuring of it has worked so well is that they focused on the story and the that part of that aspect of it, of like really having the good story. Sure, there are other things that you can do. There's PvP and all of that, but that's not where they focus their time. And that's helped them to really solidify into their thing and like be a star there. I feel like what was it? I feel like that was they can go too far the other way too, because one of the problems that WildStar had was, I think they focused not too much just on PvP and the storytelling and all that. They focused too much on the hardcore like raiding group.
Because
like there's
that particular example is like in the heyday of MMOs. How old were we?
Right.
How much time did we have to devote in a given day to playing an MMO? But now
20-man squads, 50-man squads were the thing.
Yeah.
But
that's one of the things with WoW I was thinking about the other day, is a lot of people complain about the casualization of WoW, which first of all is hilarious, because as hardcore as WoW was initially, compared to the other MMOs that were out, it was very casual.
EverQuest for babies, I remember that.
Right, yeah. So, but if it hadn't changed to allow more casual playstyles and still accomplish things, I know I for sure wouldn't still be playing it, because I haven't had the time to play a game like that in decades. Or it would have to be just one game. I would only play one game. I would never play any of the other games, which is sad. And I think that's just the reality of MMOs. Like, they need to realize that you can't be everything for everybody. Like, maybe there are some people that you can be everything for, but most people are going to play for a specific slice of what you're doing, and you need to decide what slice you want to focus your time and energy on.
Like, all things considered, Guild Wars 2 has 3 distinct game modes. All 3 of those modes have their own separate subsections of playstyle. Because PvP has ranked, unranked, stronghold. It exists. I wish that it would be developed more, because I think it could be very good.
It was a cool idea.
The WW, you have squad roaming, you have squad stuff, you have roaming, you have just following the tag and being another body, which is valid play, because a commander could always use more bodies to block the squad that is actually organized.
Right.
PvE, you have open world, you have story instances, you have fractals, you have raiding. Technically, you also have dungeons. PvE has the most developed, discrete subsections of gameplay in Guild Wars 2. So, I honestly feel like, on top of, and QED said before, is like the combat system in the game is the reason that all works.
I agree.
So, also QED, you can't use your dodge, because that's a button other than 1. You can move and you can press 1.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so Arlie actually brought up something that made me ask another question. So do you feel like MMOs, since you have to dedicate time to MMOs, do you feel like that's the reason for the decline of MMOs in recent years? And do you feel like what do you feel like MMOs have to do, like even Guild Wars 2 like would have to do in order to like regain some status in that?
It is absolutely the decline of time for people. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Arlie. I have a whole rant on this.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have a few things there. So one, absolutely, I think a lot of the main MMO people are older and don't have the time that they had. Like, sure, there's younger people playing them too, but I think, I forget where it was, there was some study on the average age of MMO players, and in general, they're older than they used to be. So that's a huge factor. I had more and now I've forgotten it. Oh, the other thing I was going to say was the heyday of MMOs. You have to remember that part of that was driven by people looking at World of Warcraft and how much money it was pulling in with all of their subs, and everybody trying to cash in, like make a thing quick and get money out, which wasn't good for anybody, because a lot of those games, although some of them had really interesting ideas which later became incorporated into some of the other existing games, most of those games were horribly, horribly flawed in some very fundamental levels, which is why they didn't do good, because they didn't understand at a basic level what keeps MMO players playing, what they really enjoy. And I think over time, developers have realized that MMOs are expensive to develop and run and continue going. And yeah, you can make a lot of money at them, but it's not a quick turnaround. And it's just the nature of the industry that people are constantly looking for, hey, what's the next thing that's going to make me a ton of money in a short amount of time? That's just the industry. So I don't know. I kind of laugh at the whole decline of MMOs because I always felt that there's a max amount of MMOs that can be supported by the community that's interested in them. And then there's other people who like the MMO light kind of games, like, Destiny, or like lobby based games. Those ones. So there's more room for diversity in different things rather than your like traditional MMO. So I don't buy into the decline of MMOs. I just think it's not the it thing anymore.
That's fair. All right, Matthias, you wanted to rant?
Well, a large portion of what I think is also said by Arlie is just like the age, like the people who want to play MMORPGs don't have the time for them anymore. So that's why Guild Wars 2, you really don't need, like, you play alone together. Like, that's why you don't have to worry about the credit for everything. That's why, like, the giant changes were made to Heart of Thorns after Heart of Thorns came out, because when Heart of Thorns released, all of the maps were designed assuming you would be there for the whole meta. Like, all of the rewards were very end loaded. You didn't get a lot of stuff going through the meta. It all came at the end. They made that change where you would actually get to be able to do something if you only had 15 or 20 minutes to play the game. That's why they changed the daily system so that you could finish your daily in a single PvP match, which is why I end up dealing with salty assholes every time I log in for 0 to Hero right after reset, because they just want to get their one win in and finish their daily for the day. And it's just like, why are you in ranked for that? Just go to unranked.
Yeah.
Sorry. Apologies. But yeah, like, and even then, I think we talked about it a while ago, battle royales are going to make it even worse for MMOs, because battle royales, if you lose, you can just quit and start another round immediately. Like, I think we were talking about PvP previously.
I was going to say, that's a mentality that has always kind of existed. I've seen that since forever in battlegrounds and stuff, and it always frustrated me because as soon as you get behind, people quit and leave. And it's like, we can pull this back, I think that's one reason why battle royales are doing so well, because of that mentality. It caters to people who think that way.
Yep.
Unless you play ranked at a higher level, then you lose points. But that's interesting.
I mean, there are people who don't give two flying fucks about their rank in Guild Wars 2, because the primary reward for playing ranked is the pips, and as long as you play the game, you get the pips. That's why people want a surrender option in PvP, because they just want their pips.
Yeah, that was a flawed system from the get-go. We talked about it already. Yeah, so in my view, when I say decline of MMOs, it's not like the actual MMOs are bad. It's more like the interest for MMOs in compared to like MOBAs or battle royale games is just
the genre is declining, not the individual games.
Yeah, not the individual games. It's just like the interest for MOBAs or BR games or like card games nowadays even are just higher, just because of, I feel like, either the competitive aspect or the turnaround of games or things like that, or just the interest in that in general. I don't think it's any, and I feel like storytelling has gotten a lot better in games over the years too. So I feel like there's a turnaround there.
So I think, to bring this back so we can close out get to the rest of the show here, because I think we'll talk about this for hours if we leave this unchecked. Do you feel you are in the target group of what Guild Wars 2 is? Just yes or no.
I would say, if the target group is casual players, then yes, I do feel that, because I don't think I could play Guild Wars 2 as my only game. Like, I love it, but I could never be hardcore about it. So I'm very casual with it.
Age?
I'm not. Just because I like playing every aspect of Guild Wars 2. And since not every aspect of the game is updated like in a decent amount of time, it kind of takes away from my experience. So
I would say I am, but that's only because I have built a schedule for myself that actively enjoy, like this show. I enjoy talking about the game. I like the class balance. I like the combat system to talk about. The PvP is fun, and I like doing PvP with people like in chat, watching and talking to them, because it makes those awful games that much more bearable. But I would say I am, because I also enjoy the story, and it's a primarily story-driven game. But oh darn it, I don't want to be having notifications here. I'm getting notifications from Skype. Stop. Quit. Okay. Hopefully we don't get flagged for copyright sound bites from Twitch.
Oh God.
Because sound effect libraries are getting slapped now. So, again, step back, because this is just wonderfully set up. The final topic we have before Community Corner is that there's a Path of Fire sale. So the game is on sale for 50% off until November 23rd. Just in time for the new chapter of the Icebrood Saga to start. Standard edition is $14.99 US, and deluxe is $27.99 US. And of course, that also gets you Heart of Thorns, because they have set that up to just buy one, you get game.
yeah.
So anybody gonna buy their 27th account?
No.
No.
Is Salisi gonna buy more accounts? Do you still talk to?
Probably. I haven't talked to him in a while. It's been a while, but I would not be surprised if he was still buying more accounts.
I have to wonder if he used Windows 10 to make a completely separate desktop that he swaps to with all of the login links so he can get his dailies collected.
Possible, yeah.
Set up multiple VM environments.
Yeah, that would be a thing.
Just have a list of them, spin one up, do their thing, spin up the next one.
Mail all your stuff to your main account. Lather, rinse, repeat. I'm not going to buy another one either. So that's a no from all three of us. But hey, if you were interested in buying another account, or if you're watching this on Twitch or YouTube and you don't have the game already and you were just watching a Guild Wars 2 news podcast to figure out if you want it, well, super cheap right now. Yeah. And if anybody's watching and they're just thinking, well, what if I want the deluxe edition? You can upgrade to the deluxe edition, if I recall correctly. So
yes.
If you buy it, you like it, then you want to get all the deluxe stuff, you can do that. But moving on to our final thing, and moving a little bit closer back to the game now from our planetary view of Guild Wars 2, Community Corner. First up, we have an NAEU November Duo Fashion Show. I'm going to drop that in chat. This is going to be streamed on Reddit and Twitch. They've got the Twitch info in the Reddit thread there. November 15th at 5 p.m. Eastern for NA, and EU, it's November 22nd at 2 p.m. EST. The theme for the month is the best duo. Duo, partner up with someone and come up with the best duo theme. Mounts will not be needed for this month's theme. You will be judged on your theme, creativity, and die selection. Each category is out of 10 points, with the team having the most overall points between the judges winning. Prizes for each player in the duo. First place, 500 gold. Second place, 250. Third place, 100. Fourth place, 50. Now that is per. So the winning team will get 1,000 gold total, if I'm reading that correctly. Mm-hmm. Both shows will be streamed on Twitch, and there will be giveaways during the stream as well. Honestly, I know people call it Fashion Wars 2, and I honestly, I love the idea of a community fashion tournament. I think that's really cool. I'm honestly surprised we haven't heard more about this previously for Community Corner, because I don't remember this being a thing for a while.
No.
Yeah, me either.
It's awesome, though.
Yeah, this is from GuildMM, which I know we've had some of their stuff in Community Corner before, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like this. This is really cool. I don't know if I'll be able to catch the stream to watch it, but that's cool. Like for those of you on Twitch, that's tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. For those of you on YouTube, that's today at 5 p.m. Eastern. So if you're into, Guild Wars fashion shows, check it out. And our number 2 for Community Corner, QED let us know about this at the start of the show. Discretize has updated their website. Get the link, copy link, paste the link. Get back into the show notes. Chronomancer Fractal Guide update, an updated Reaper guide for CM fractals, a beginner's guide to fractals, which I'm going to have to study a lot because I have no goddamn clue what I'm doing half the time. A cheat sheet for fractals that show which potion and sigil combinations is optimal for each fractal, because Night Slayer, like the day-night damage boosting sigils, some fractals are considered 100% daytime and some are 100% nighttime, so you can eke out that little bit extra damage in there. November 18th at 7 p.m. Central Time, Discretize will be streaming a fractal run with explanations in their public Discord. We take someone who is not used to running higher-end strategies with us and explain everything on the fly. This is a great way for fractal players to pick up our ways of completing fractals and maybe improve too. Afterwards, we will try to answer all of your questions in a short meet and greet. So, November 18th, that's Wednesday. Oh, I guess it's probably a good thing that I moved Zero to Hero, so I'll actually see you on Thursday, huh, QED? But always, every time Discretize shows up in Community Corner, I'm always happy to see such a competent team working on fractal guides. Like, I actually get all of my PvE builds from here. I grab, I know my Firebrand build is from Discretize's website. I think it's out of date at this point, but I'm so used to playing it. And I also grabbed a Dragon Hunter build from there. I tweak the gear a little bit because I'm not going to be doing CM fractals anytime soon, but just even for general PvE stuff, their guides are solid. So, and it'll help you practice doing high-end rotations and everything. So, thoughts, friends?
Good stuff. I mean, the beginner's guide, I think, is the most important thing for me. Because you're right.
I clicked the wrong button.
Oh, no.
Oh. I see.
Yeah. Sorry, chat. Apologies.
But yeah, I mean, the beginner's guide fractals is I think important just because if an experienced fractal group, most people who are looking for guides are either people who are trying to start out or who want to see what the latest meta is. So it's good to have.
Yep, it's great stuff. Thoughts, Arlie, or just yay?
Same. Yeah. Love updates.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this week. So that means we get to go to the outro stuff. So, Arlie, where can they find you?
You can find me at Twitter and Instagram at Arlie82, and then on Twitch at MMORPGCOM. Thursday evenings and Sunday morning. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to go ahead and stream Mass Effect 2 for my stream tomorrow since I didn't get to last week. So, yay.
Full Renegade playthrough, right?
Oh, God.
You can't do Renegade? Not a fan?
I don't think I can.
It's fun to do Jack's storyline as Renegade, especially for the climax of it. So maybe try it out just once, but that's personal opinion. So,
yep.
Age, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube at Age Night Road. I started streaming again this week. I played some Genshin Impact, and I played some Among Us yesterday. It was fun times. I screwed up a little bit with an Among Us, but it's okay. It's fine. I learn as I go. And next week, I'm getting Miles Morales on Monday, so I'll probably try to stream that. Yeah, whenever I get find a group for Among Us who needs a 10th, I'll join them. And if like I have enough to do in Genshin Impact, I'll stream that. Otherwise, I'll probably stream like maybe Guild Wars 2, BDO, and Apex Legends for now. So yeah.
Yay. And you can find me on Twitter at MalthanusMMO. You can find me here on Tuesdays with these fine folks playing random games. And then Thursdays, we have moved Zero to Hero from Wednesdays to Thursdays for ranked play. I'm currently playing Hype Squad Warrior, QED. You can't get me to call it Heel Breaker. It's just not going to happen. I've got Warhorn, so I've got my megaphone. I've got my shouts, so I've got my cheers. And then I've got the team banner. So it's cheerleader warrior, man. That's just what it's going to be. But doing ranked and probably complaining when people just up and quit in the middle of a match because they want to be able to say thank you next and get into the next match. But ain't no battle royale up in here. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that is it for this week. So you all have a fantastic evening, and we'll catch you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.